a plain white envelope taped crookedly to my front door, as if whoever delivered it didn't want to be caught in the act. The handwriting was overly formal, the ink pressed so hard into the paper that it left grooves. Inside, there was no greeting, no pleasantries, only a printed notice from the neighborhood's homeowners association informing me that I had been fined $30,000. The offense, according to the paper, was unauthorized interference with HOA environmental management property. My first thought was that it was some kind of scam. The land they referred to, an overgrown, neglected strip at the end of my property line, wasn't even owned by the HOA. It was county-owned land filled with weeds, broken fencing, and trash that had been collecting for years. 2 months earlier, I had spent my weekends cleaning it up, not because I wanted recognition, but because it was an eyesore. I had hauled out rusted car parts, old mattresses, and a mountain of beer bottles. I'd even planted a row of native shrubs along the back, hoping it would stop people from using it as a dumping ground. I thought I was helping the neighborhood. Apparently, someone saw it differently. Over the next few days, more letters followed. The fines increased by a few $100s each time, with vague threats of legal escalation if I didn't comply. At first, I ignored them. Then came the HOA newsletter, a monthly bulletin slid under every resident's door, where my offense was listed under violations of the month. It didn't take long to figure out who was behind it. Her name was Marlene, though most people called her the Queen of the HOA. She was the type who prowled the neighborhood at dawn, phone camera ready, hunting for trash cans left out an extra day, or lawns with grass half an inch too long. She had a permanent scowl etched into her face and a rotating collection of wide-brimmed hats that made her look like a sun-baked detective. I had seen her standing by the strip of land the week before the first letter, arms crossed, talking animatedly to another board member. When she caught me looking, she smiled, not the warm kind, but the slow, deliberate curl of someone who just found a weapon. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe she genuinely believed the HOA owned the land. Maybe this was just a misunderstanding. But that optimism shattered when I got the certified letter. It was stamped with legal formatting, brimming with hostile language about liens and court costs. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, running through every possibility. If I didn't fight this, I could lose my home. But to fight it meant going head-to-head with Marlene, someone who, by all accounts, didn't lose. And yet, she had made a mistake. A big one. One that would come back to destroy her in ways she hadn't imagined. The first step would be finding proof. Proof that she didn't just bend the rules. She had broken the law. The next morning, I started where anyone would, public records. Most of the HOA board probably assumed no one ever bothered to check who actually owned what. They were right, for the most part, but it turns out the county's property maps are just a few clicks away, and they told a very different story from Marlene's official version. The strip of land I had cleaned was shaded in pale yellow on the map. That color wasn't HOA territory. It was county conservation land, set aside years ago as a public easement. That meant anyone could walk it, clean it, even plant on it so long as they didn't build permanent structures. My work hadn't violated a single law or HOA rule. But Marlene's letters had gone further than just an HOA fine. She had filed a formal claim against me with the county records office, falsely stating that the HOA owned the land and that I had altered protected wetlands without permission. The words were serious enough that, had they been true, I could have been hit with environmental penalties in the tens of thousands. I printed everything, the county maps, the easement, documents, the HOA charter, and copies of every letter she sent me. My dining table became a crime board, papers spread in neat rows, highlighter ink bleeding through the pages. I wasn't the only one she'd done this to. Through some quiet asking around, I learned that a man down the street had once been fined $5,000 for repainting his fence without pre-approval. Another neighbor had been threatened with a lien because his teenage son's car lowered the neighborhood's aesthetic appeal. Most people paid to avoid trouble. Some fought and lost, but no one had fought back with proof. By the end of the week, I had a plan. The HOA's monthly meeting was coming up, and the entire board would be present. Marlene at the head like a queen on her throne. Normally, these meetings were nothing but lawn care updates and budget votes. This time, it was going to be different. The day arrived. The meeting room in the community center was cramped and overbright, smelling faintly of coffee and carpet cleaner. The folding chairs filled quickly, neighbors murmuring about the big blow-up they'd heard was coming. I sat near the back, a folder of documents heavy in my lap. When the meeting reached the violations section, Marlene wasted no time reading my name aloud. She described my illegal activity in slow, exaggerated detail, glancing up after every sentence to watch the crowd react. I let her finish. Then I stood. The room went silent. One by one, I laid out the documents on the front table. Public maps, easement codes, evidence of her false claims to the county. I spoke only long enough to explain what each paper proved. With every page, her face tightened, her posture stiffened. By the time I was done, the other board members looked at her like she'd just set the HOA on fire. But this wasn't over, because while I'd proved she lied, I hadn't yet revealed the biggest thing I'd found. Something that could turn her $30,000 fine into a prison sentence. The HOA meeting ended in chaos. Board members whispered furiously among themselves, while Marlene sat stiff as stone, lips pressed so tight they nearly disappeared. I walked out with my folder still in hand, the weight of it comforting, knowing it contained more than she realized. What the crowd didn't know, and what I had deliberately held back, was that her false property claim wasn't the end of her wrongdoing. While digging through the county's records, I had stumbled onto something that didn't add up. The HOA's annual financial statements, which were technically public to residents, listed several maintenance projects for that same strip of land, projects that never happened. In the past 3 years, more than $50,000 of HOA funds had been allocated for environmental upkeep on property the HOA didn't even own. The descriptions were vague: weed abatement, soil stabilization, but the payments had all gone to a small landscaping company. When I cross-checked the company's registration, my jaw clenched. The owner's name was familiar. It was Marlene's cousin. The more I read, the worse it got. The landscaping company had no employees, no physical office, and its mailing address was the same as Marlene's home. She'd been funneling HOA funds to herself through a fake business for years, and using the land as a cover story to justify the expenses. Now her $30,000 fine against me wasn't just harassment. It was part of a larger scheme to make it look like she was protecting property the HOA supposedly maintained, bolstering her paper trail in case anyone asked questions. I knew this was far beyond an HOA dispute. This was fraud. I packaged everything: financial statements, county land records, the false violation letters, and delivered them to the county district attorney's office. The investigator didn't need much convincing. The evidence spoke for itself. They moved faster than I expected. Within a month, I saw unmarked cars roll into Marlene's driveway early one morning. Neighbors gathered at their windows as 2 officers escorted her out, hands cuffed, wide-brimmed hat missing for the first time I could remember. The news spread like wildfire. The HOA board issued an emergency statement announcing her removal, citing pending legal matters. In the weeks that followed, the community meetings transformed. Gone were the nitpicking fines and public shaming lists. People actually talked about improving the neighborhood rather than policing it. As for me, the $30,000 fine vanished, along with every other bogus violation she'd issued. The county not only cleared my name, but sent a letter of thanks for my help in exposing the scheme. The strip of land is still there, quiet, green, and slowly filling with the shrubs I planted months ago. Sometimes I walk by and think about how something so small, so insignificant in the eyes of most people, ended up unraveling the queen of the HOA. Marlene is still in jail, awaiting trial. The charges include fraud, falsifying public documents, and misuse of HOA funds. If convicted, she could be there for years, and all because she tried to fine me for protecting land she didn't even own.